Salvete omnes. Welcome to today's episode of The Forum. I'm Julia, and joining me here today are my fellow colleagues, Marcus and Cornelius.
We have a great show for you today. The Roman army has returned all the way from Gaul after successfully conquering it under the command of General Julius Caesar.
As you may know, conquering Gaul was not an easy task. Julius lost many men due to rebellions in the past 8 years from Gallic tribes.
Today, we have a special guest. He has just come home from serving in Caesar's 7th Legion, and today he will discuss his personal experience about the battles.
Please welcome Tarquinius.
We are glad you are able to join us today. Now, Tarquinius, how are you involved in this Gallic war?
I fought under Julius Caesar in the second invasion of Britain and in the Battle of Alesia.
I've actually read Caesar's personal passage about the invasion and rebellion. It seemed very difficult for soldiers to prepare in such hard weather conditions.
My specific legion didn't actually fight in the rebellion. However, we did help to rebuild and build new ships.
How many ships did you build?
Well, even though it was during a harsh time, Caesar was very impressed with the progress we made. In fact, we built 600 ships and repaired 28 battleships.
Caesar had mentioned that he picked the perfect place to invade Britain when he discovered the land a year ago. What happened once you reached the shores?
Our ships began to move quickly at an attack speed, as if we were first going into battle. Because we were moving so quickly, the terrain contributed to our concealment, and we were able to establish our positions.
How did Caesar lead you through the unfamiliar terrain?
Caesar left 10 cohorts to protect the ships, and 12 miles, after sailing for 12 miles, we spotted the enemy waiting for us. The enemy had established a base at a land where there were fallen trees as barricades.
So what was the outcome of the attack?
We managed to break through their defenses and chase them out. However, Caesar advised against chasing them because the terrain was unknown to us and because it would have been more beneficial to fortify our main camp.
Caesar mentioned that he encountered the Kent tribe, but he said it was different than any other tribe that he had seen in Gaul. What made them so unique?
Well, the Kent tribe practiced the Gaelic culture. However, they were surrounded by the sea, so they had to adapt to their environment.
How and why?
They used animals for food and for clothing, and in addition, they extracted blue dye from wood and covered themselves in this blue dye when they went to war.
Anything else?
Well, they had really long hair. They shaved everywhere except for their head and their upper lip, and also they shared wives with people in their family.
When were you finally able to be successful in your invasion?
After both sides had tried to fortify the other's camp, Caesar had advanced up to the Thames River where he met Cassivellaunus.
How?
Cassivellaunus led Caesar into a diversion attack and rounded up leaders from the Gallic tribes. Other legions were sent to put down small rebellions that appeared, and eventually, Indutio Marius, who despised Caesar, surrendered.
What happened to him?
Unfortunately, he was killed right after that. Before he died, he gave Caesar his land, and Britain was eventually conquered.
You had mentioned earlier that you and your legions were at the Battle of Alesia. Cornelius, can you please get the model? Can you explain to us the Battle of Alesia on this model?
Well, in the center here is Alesia, and around it are two walls which were constructed by Caesar and his troops. There were 4 cavalry camps located all around the outer wall, and there were various watchtowers such as this one. In addition, there was a river that across the river was a Gallic relief army camp. And the Battle of Alesia was fought September to October 52 BC during the Gallic Wars, which lasted until 51 BC.
How many men were on each side?
Well, under Julius Caesar there were 60,000 men, and under Vercingetorix and Commius there were 80,000 men stationed in Alesia, and there were 100,000 to 250,000 men in the relief army.
What was the aftermath of this battle?
Roman losses were around 12,800 killed and wounded, while the Gauls may have suffered up to 250,000 killed and wounded, as well as 40,000 captured. The victory at Alesia effectively ended organized resistance to Roman rule in Gaul.
Can you please explain to us, viewers at home and in the audience, how you actually defeated Vercingetorix at the Battle of Alesia?
Well, Caesar not only conquered land in Gaul, however, he also made allies with some Gallic tribes, including the Treviri. With the help of our allies, the Roman army has around some 400,000 troops. This included 10,000 Italian forces, 150,000 Roman legiones, and 230,000 allied infantry, cavalry, and allied troops.
What did the legion consist of?
Each legion contained about 5,000 men organized into 10 cohorts, which contained 6 centurii, composed of about 80 men. A century was made up of 10 contubernia, which are mess tents that housed about 8 men.
What exactly were the roles of the centuries and officers in Caesar's army?
Centuries were commanded by the centurions, who were an experienced veteran that carried a wooden swagger stick to discipline the troops. The primus pilus of each legion headed the primi urbines, each of whom served in the first cohort. Subordinate to the legatus were 6 staff officers, or tribuni militum, 5 of whom commanded the 10 legionary cohorts, 6 of whom, a senior tribune, served as second in command.
So, during an approach from battle, legions were distinguished by their ranking. Can you explain how this worked?
Each legion was identified by their ranking, which was known as the signa militaria. The signum, the symbol of each century, was borne by the signifer, and the aquilia of each legion was borne by the aquilifer, or the eagle bearer.
Very interesting, Tarquinius. So, what is the basic uniform of a perites?
Well, a legionary foot soldier like myself has both offensive and defensive components to their uniform. For example, for close hand-to-hand combat, we have the short sword, or the gladius. And for longer range combat, we have the spear called the pilum. The tip is slightly flexible so that it can penetrate the enemy's shield and make their shield heavy and unwieldy. The defensive equipment consists of the gallia, which is a helmet made out of iron and bronze, and the lorica, which is a chest plate used to defend my body. Finally, we have the scutum, which is a shield made out of wood, leather, and metal. It is usually 4 feet long and slightly curved.
Camera.
Thank you, Tarquinius, for being on our show today.
Thanks for having me. I had a great time today.
Well, folks, that's our show. Stay tuned for tomorrow, where Pompey will be joining us. What were the disadvantages of fighting in Britain during the winter?
Caesar couldn't go one night without becoming very anxious. This was for many reasons. First was that the Gauls were very active during this period because they could send messages between themselves, and also because Caesar couldn't receive many messages as it was the winter.
Other than the Battle of Alesia, what battle formations did you use?
Well, in general, in battle, the ordines were organized into acies. The most popular formation was the acies triplex, with the cavalry and support troops on the right and left cornua, or wings. The secundarii were given by the tubae and by movement of the unit insignia. In addition, equites or equitatis was provided by the auxilia recruited from Rome's provincial allies or from people of tribes loyal to a particular general. These horse soldiers, who were commanded by a praefectus, served on the legion's flanks as a support.
Are there any special uses of the scutum?
The shape of the scutum allowed packed formations of legionaries to create a sort of barrier against missiles such as arrows or things that enemies would throw from their walls.
What is this formation called?
This is called the testudo formation, also known as the tortoise formation.